I talk with a bunch of people in the marketing and business industry, people who do marketing coaching of some sort or marketing consulting or sell services of any sort that business owners might be interested in. And quite often they end the call, or at some point during the call, say something like, if you come across someone or you have a client who would need help with insert their expertise, then refer them to me and I'll help them out. My thought most of the time is, no. Probably not. If you have a free thing like a PDF or a book or a video or a webinar or something, I can check first. And if I like it, I might share it, I might even promote it. But it is very, very unlikely I'm going to refer someone to you. And the same thing happens in every industry. And if we flip things around, it should become fairly clear why that happens and what you can do, or at least what I do, to mostly alleviate one of the main issues, or what I think is the main issue there. So let's say that we talk, and let's say that we don't really know each other. We might have come across each other a couple of times here and there, but you don't really know me too well. And then at some point during the call, I would say that, hey, if you have a client or a friend or someone else who you know who doesn't really know what they should say in their marketing, so they don't have a very good marketing message. If that's the case, refer them to me and I'll help them out with that. Most people would reply, I'll keep that in mind. But what they would mean is, no, that's almost certainly not going to happen. The problem is not, or at least mostly, it wouldn't be that you would think that I'm completely unqualified. You would probably see that, well, I've worked with tons of different sorts of businesses, people who sell things in super competitive niches, or people who sell very weird new things that are really hard to explain. And I do a very good job with them. Even if you don't know any of that, you probably still wouldn't think that I'm just flat out unqualified for it. The problem also probably isn't that you would think that, well, there's nothing for you to gain. If you want referral commissions, I'm happy to pay those, and those can be thousands per single client. So obviously you have something to gain. So that's probably also not really the problem. And I would also assume the issue isn't that you would think that I'm going to steal your client. After we've talked for a while, I would hope it's pretty obvious that I have some integrity, and I wouldn't do that. I'd be very careful with what I help people with, and that I wouldn't step on any toes, I wouldn't direct them to a wrong thing, and so on. So those shouldn't be the issue. What I would think is the main issue is that if you haven't actually seen my work, if you haven't experienced my work, then you don't really know how I do things. You don't really know what I would do with the client. You don't really know how I would approach it, what I would focus on, what I would require them to do, what sort of things do I see in this specific case, what would I even do? Like overall, you don't know any of those things. What I usually do is, if you have a situation with a client where this would be helpful, then you and me, first talk about it. You can tell the client that you're going to talk with someone about their messaging or their sales funnel or optimization or whatever it is. But that's not even necessary. The point would be that you and me, with the client there or not, would first talk through the situation, this individual project. So you would get to hear how I would approach it, what I would focus on, how I would help this client. And I would get to hear what you're doing with them, how you're approaching things, what have you already done, what's the plan going forward, so that whatever I do really fits into what you're planning with them. That should make it much easier for you to refer someone to me. And you can do exactly the same thing. If you ask for referrals, then just say that. Hey, if you're thinking of referring someone, or if you have someone in a situation where I might be able to help, don't just refer them to me. Let's you and me first have a conversation about it. That should also help a lot with that potential issue of people fearing that they will lose a client. Well, first of all, you get commissions that are pretty nice, but also if it becomes clear that, well, I get to know exactly what you're planning on doing, what you have already done, and what you've advised people on, then I'm not going to step on any toes. I'm not going to suggest contradictory things or sort of distracting things from that. I'll stick to what it is that they need help with that you're not providing. That should make it a lot easier to get referrals. Now, I'm curious, what do you think about this idea? If you were the person referring someone, would this make sense to you? Would you want to have that conversation, or do you think it would be a waste of time for you? Or do you think there's some other thing that would be more helpful? And if you found this idea useful, then please click the like button. It helps me out, so I appreciate it. Thank you. And if you want to see the next video, remember to subscribe. In the next video, I'll talk a little bit about why less is way more in marketing, especially when it comes to what you say. So I'll see you there.